It's time to finish the game. Let's go.
Ball, 1st and 10 at the 12-yard line of the Seahawks. Sean goes right, has a cut back lane, and he does. He's across the 20, the 25, 30, 35, 40. Here he goes. Are they going to catch him? 40, 35, 30, 25, 10, 5. Touchdown, Seahawks. What a run by Sean Alexander.
Finish the game. We gonna finish the game. Yeah, finish the game. We gonna finish the game.
Welcome back to the Finish the Game podcast with Sean Alexander. I'm Claude Jennings. Glad to be with you yet again for another week, Sean, and another episode of Finish the Game. Sean, one of the talk topics we wanted to hit today was disagreement, man. You know, we inevitably face it, you know, whether it's at home, whether it's at work, you know, you're going to disagree with someone. And oftentimes these disagreements, the things we disagree about, sometimes they can be small and sometimes they can be large, but they oftentimes break relationships. How do you disagree? Or what are some steps when you disagree with someone? We don't agree on this, we don't agree on whatever, but we're still going to remain friends and remain, you know, buddies, remain family.
Yeah, you know, and this has been a great question, great topic. Thanks for whoever's asking that. You know, sometimes with disagreements, the first thing that we're all taught is to blow up the person for his opinion. And this is what makes humanity amazing. This is what makes our country amazing. This is what makes marriage amazing. This is what makes friendships, neighborhoods amazing, is you got a bunch of people that are free to be 100% themselves. And at the same time, you guys all decide that with your differences, you can actually still be a neighborhood, a team, a family, friends. And so I think one of the greatest things is when you disagree with people is number one, be okay with people not agreeing with you. That doesn't mean that you got to convince them to agree with you, but it does mean that there will be times of ebb and flow where you get what you want and sometimes you won't get what you want. I think that is healthy for everybody. You know, my wife and I, we always tell each other, "Oh, dang, we can't have everything," you know, and that's when we want to be over in Seattle for something, then we want to be down in Bama for something, then we want to be in D.C. for something, and we're like, well, we can't have everything.
Right.
And so that disagreement within our own selves, our own ties, and you know, we want to go do a couples night up in New York, but we got 8 kids. We can't have everything, you know, and so with that. Those are disagreements within your own self that you got to go and say, you know what, it's okay that I have a desire, but the reality is I can't have everything, and what do I do with that? Well, one, you slow yourself down. You actually are okay with not having everything, and then you decide healthily what is most important. Right. And I think that a lot of friendships are ruined because they'll put topics more important than relationships. You know, and I tell people all the time, man, relationships are way more important than anything, any project, any job. Relationships are way more important. And so that's whether it's friends to friends or whether it's husband to wife. You know, I'd say this to people all the time. You know, even Jesus Christ himself tells us all throughout the Bible, he desires relationship even more than being a good follower of the rules.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
You can actually do everything biblically right. I put my quotes up in the air. You can do everything biblically right and still not know Jesus. And he says, this is nothing. You don't get heaven.
Right.
And so the relationship has to be more valuable than even following the rules, you know. And sometimes I think people make rules and they're like, hey, you know, and hey, we know you guys want to do this, but it's not the rule. And I've seen people do this with, you know, I mean, let's take stuff simple like giving. You know, I've seen people, you know, literally say in a church setting, man, I would help Johnny over here with you know, eating dinner with him and his family, but I gave my money to the church.
Oh, wow.
No. God's going to look at you and be like, no, get the relationship. You know what I mean? You love me. You did this for me when you gave to those who didn't have. You know, like that's the relationship. That relationship is more important than saying, hey, I'm a tither. That's the rule, you know? All throughout life, when disagreements happen, you have to always slow yourself down, put yourself right in the correct perspective and say, okay, where is the relationship that's the most important sit in this situation? And, and then sometimes it happens. I mean, you always see like from even back in the Bible days, thousands of years ago to even now, neighbors getting arguments over land. Okay,
Yeah.
hey, this is my marker, this is your marker, it still goes on today. Oh, I can't see this, I can't see that. And the answer is always like, well, hold on, if you don't want this here, this is my land, so I'm going to make the choice. But the truth is, the relationship with you is more important than putting something where I want it. So let's figure out how we can make this work,
Right.
I think that when everybody slows down and calms down, no matter what the topic is, when they value the relationship over the project or the thing, they'll realize that it can be solved.
Mm-hmm. Right. No,
And I would tell this to people, and even in marriages, there's always marriages that are always at the peak. And so most people's answer to, ooh, what do you do is, well, I'm disagreeing with my wife about this, or the wife's like, yeah, I can't stand my husband about this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is not to get away from that. It's actually to walk to each other and say, hey, we're disagreeing about this, but you are more important than this topic.
Right.
And so even though we are heated, we Alabama versus Auburn when it comes to this topic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
We heated, we the Dallas Cowboys versus the rest of the world in this topic.
Uh-huh.
Even though we're heated and we're fully disagreeing with this, we're still, you're who you are is still more important than this topic.
Right.
And I think that when most people get down to it, they don't think like that.
Yeah, no, we can't separate the issue at hand or the topic at hand, because a lot of times either proving our point or getting our way, like you said, becomes more important than the relationship at the time. And sometimes we have to separate. And there are some decisions and some choices that don't have to be made right now. There's some things that, hey, right now we don't see eye to eye. We don't have to decide on this today. We can wait. Or there's some things that's like, hey, we don't actually have to, we can just choose not to do this or do that. But on some of the things that you have to, like you said, it's a give and take. And it's like, hey, I don't want to lose the relationship based on this disagreement.
Yeah. And so I would say, like, hey, when it comes to disagreements, you all just listen to my words. Value the person more than the topic. Mm-hmm. And then still fight for what you believe is best. But just make sure you value the person more than the topic.
Right.
And so then you can still be you, but you already know I can't have everything, and neither can my friend or my spouse or whoever it is. No one's going to get everything, but at the same time, you're more important than what's going on. And so also with that, don't fall in the trap of this. I mean, and I'm going to tell you all this by witness. I'm going to testimony service right now. Don't fall into where, hey, I've done this for you, now you need to do this for me.
Yeah. That give and take. Like, well, you got the last one, so now it's my turn. It's like, But one thing too, Sean, that I find is that sometimes it's the smaller things we disagree on when compared to the bigger picture. Most people can agree, whether it's a marriage or a friendship or something, we can agree on the bigger picture, like the bigger thing. It's getting to that it's some of the smaller things that we don't agree on. And sometimes it's just, let's just reshape our focus and focus on what's the big picture here. What are we trying to accomplish here? What's the main goal here? And like you said, if maintaining the relationship is the main goal, then sometimes those smaller decisions kind of go away.
Yeah, oh, without a doubt. And I think, kind of shifting to another topic, I got a question about, well, man, like, can you ever just talk about how to tell people when they're wrong?
Uh-oh,
like,
stirring it up now, because people don't we do not like to hear when we're wrong, man.
Yeah, it's really wild because, I've got friends that, just point blank honest, I had some friends in high school that was what we did. They'd always be like, Sean, let's take very generic. Sean, please don't go out wearing that sweatshirt with them dress shoes, because we know them shoes just happen to be them shoes happen to be the first thing you're. But you got on sweat clothes with dress pants, with dress shoes. Don't do that, Sean. I mean, this is a true story, because fashion would not be the first thing that I'd even think of. I'm like, I'm just going down to the store. They're like, but you, Sean Alexander, you can't look crazy all the time. You know what I mean? And so at home, you see me, nothing matches. You know what I mean? And then I had friends that they would sway. They got the Jordans, they got the, everything is. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. And then I got married, and my wife was the same way. So I had people around me just in the simple thing of like clothes, like, you know what? No, can you carry yourself like you're who God has called you to be? An ambassador to to your family, an ambassador to God's kingdom, an ambassador to the University of Alabama, an ambassador to the Seahawks. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an ambassador to several different things, and so we look up, and they're like, well, no, like, you need to actually be matching sometimes. You know what I mean? And so that's like a running joke, you know. But at the same time, if it was more serious, gosh, there's no way that anybody could think that they're perfect.
Right.
So I think that this is the greatest problem with most people that don't have real friends around them, is that they put themselves in that if somebody tells them wrong, that who they are is just flawed. And it's like, that's just not true. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect. I actually like when people say, Sean, you know what? That wasn't the best, you know. And, and you know, there was one season where I was dancing in the end zone after every game, and one of my mentors called me up and was like, dude, another 3 touchdowns. That's great. Oh, that's good. Why are you dancing so much?
Right.
And I was like, hey, I didn't know what to say. I was like, well, you know, it all started off because, you know, a lineman was like, hey, when you get in the end zone, do this, you know, do the sugar bear shake, you know. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, I'll do that. And then I was like, hey, when you do that, do the sprinkler, you know. So that was Bobby Ingram and D-Jack, you know, so we all started doing the sprinkler. And then next thing I just started making up my own stuff. And he's like, yeah, it sounded like it was team at first. Now it sounds like it's Sean Alexander. And I had to just be like, wow, what am I doing? You know what I mean? Why did I just bring all this attention to myself? That is great. That's a great time for somebody to say, you know what, Sean, you start off good, but now it's wrong. Right. You know? And so those kind of people are good to be in your life. You know, that's what true accountability is. That's what true friendship is. That's what true mentoring is, and parenting and discipling is. You get yourself around people that love you enough to say, this doesn't paint the picture of what you stand for, whatever it is. And, you know, for me, my faith is what I want to stand for. But for some people, it's being a team player. That's what you stand for. This ain't going to fit that. Some people, it's like, I want to be the best. Well, if you being the best is what you're going to stand for, that right there ain't going to work for you. And I think that everybody needs some people to tell them that they're wrong, or that's not them. And, you know, we do it with our kids all the time. You know, like people always say, oh, man, you know, how do you discipline your kids? I say, we tell them they're wrong, and then we tell them who they are, you know? And I think it has to have that healthy balance. But that's where true accountability and friendships and relationships and parenting and all that comes in, even coaching. You know, I had some great coaches. I tell you, Coach Williams, we'll have him on pretty soon again to tell us about the first month of football. But we have Coach Williams on there. Man, Coach Williams will let me know I'm wrong, but then he turned around and say, but you're the best in the world. I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? Let's go do this, you know. That balance is definitely needed. But most people lean on the only you're right or you're doing this well, and they don't want to hear that you're wrong, and they can't become great if somebody doesn't show them their scars and their flaws.
Right, and you know it's funny because you know everyone knows they're not perfect. I don't think anyone will walk around and say, "Hey, I'm perfect. There's nothing wrong with me," because that's just something you don't do. But the belief in the fact that I have areas to grow only shows up when someone challenges you to grow. And you accept that challenge, and then you decide to grow. Because again, you know, anyone can just leave you alone and you know, messing up and not reaching the mark and being lazy and not giving your best. But only a true friend, a true mentor, someone who really cares about you will actually go up to you. Because here's the thing: someone approaching you about something that you're falling short in or something that you can be better, they understand the risk of telling you this. They understand the risk of, hey, if I go to Claude and tell him, hey, I listen to you all the time on the radio. That last show you did was all right, but you seemed a bit distracted, or it wasn't the best production work that I've heard you do. My program director or a friend or anyone who comes to me and tells me that, they know the risk that Claude may get upset or Claude may not trust me anymore. He may not. They get that, but they still care enough about you and what you represent and where you're trying to go to say, hey, you're not getting the job done here. You need to step it up.
Hey, everybody's got a chance to press through and go be the best. Speaking for Claude Jennings, I'm Sean Alexander. You just listen to Finish the Game, and you go out there and you be an MVP at this thing called life. Finish the game.